Well, yesterday, bombshells from John Wall about our Houston Rockets and this situation. And pretty damning, I would think, for Steven Silas. In that...
Or Steven Silas / Rafael Stone.
Yeah.
Based on what he said.
Based on what he said. Well, the first one about the accountability, that's Steven Silas.
Mm-hmm.
And that is... And if you haven't heard it yet, RJ, let's play the first one, in which he's talking about the accountability and guys would not be that this isn't how the league really is, and this is something that we've been talking about with Steven Silas actually for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
In that this isn't reality in the NBA. This isn't how you win, and this is what the guys are learning. Here's John Wall, former Rocket, talking about it.
Me, I was just being a professional.
Yeah.
Like I always wanted to teach them, like, don't get used to this shit. It's not how the NBA is.
Right.
Like, it's just a bad organization right now. Like, they got to fix some shit around. But, like, I always talk to Jalen Green, Kevin Porter, KJ. I'm like, yo, don't get adjusted to this losing shit. It's not how the league is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had to tell them, like, this shit y'all getting away with over here, you go to any other teams, you be out the league.
You
wouldn't play.
You're not playing.
I wouldn't play.
No facts.
So I'm trying to explain that to them because they think it's sweet. And I'm like, if you ever get traded and go somewhere else, you can be like, this motherfucker was right.
Now I can already tell you, you can make your phone call now because what I'm already seeing the resistance to this. There's two sides. There's a side, and you and I have both heard some stuff, and he's saying some. Now I haven't heard it from his point of view, but let me just go ahead and address what is already out there with Rockets fans. John Wall can't trust anything he says, blah 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 blah, because he wasn't, he got off the team, he wasn't playing, and I was one of those upset that he wasn't playing. Yeah, I was upset with John Wall, and people were like, no, he's being a pro. This is what he's supposed to do. And then now all of a sudden people are anti-John Wall. Both things can be accurate. John Wall probably is, I'm just trying to help the young guys, and I don't know. John Wall was I don't think John Wall was a great teammate. And you'll hear he'll talk about.
Yeah, he explains that in a little bit.
He explains.
What about
it a little
what he
bit.
said though?
But see, I think there's validation. I think that's a valid point. Both can be correct. You don't have to like the messenger.
No,
but the message can still be accurate.
Okay, what about the message?
I think the message feels like it jives with what we're seeing on the court. I think when he's talking about these guys are getting away with things that wouldn't fly with other teams, they'd be on the bench. Out of the league might be a little strong, but unless he's really, that's hyperbole, unless there's something going on that we don't know. But I think what he said, we don't see accountability with this team.
No.
And other teams would be holding young players accountable. I don't see how that is anything that's considered. Like, do you honestly think that KPJ and Jalen Green and maybe even Şengün or whoever the young players were that he played with, do you really think that they are the most mature players? And look at their age.
No.
The more than likely, they're not very mature. They're on a losing team, and they haven't had very much structure.
Well, we've been saying about this for a while now. They're not learning, and the culture that they're learning here is not something that is going to be going is going to be a winning culture going forward.
Okay, so
they have to change this. It is unacceptable that night in and night out they don't bring defensive energy. They just throw up shots. They throw the ball away.
They're learning to lose.
There is no discipline on this team, and that's exactly what John Wall said. You wouldn't get away with this stuff that you're getting away with now on any other NBA team, and yet it continues.
They're learning. Well, that's the other point he made is don't learn to lose.
Yeah.
And they are learning to lose. They're doing a good job of losing, and it's the same kind of losing, which makes you really concerned because now it looks like it's a systemic issue where they have learned to subconsciously, there's a way that they behave in the fourth quarter that is causing same results time in and time out. They are learning to lose. And this is why I'm never a fan of lose. Why would you want to ever make the playoffs when you could be in the lottery? If you it's always better to win than to lose.
Always.
It's always better, with maybe the exception of the Jets when Trevor Lawrence was the pick and they ended up with Zach Wilson. But relatively speaking, you want to have a chance. And by the way, the Jets had a much better year this year. They are learning to win right now. That's the problem. My problem and your problem are both, I hear people talk about they're young, give them time, they're rebuilding. This is not, I hear all these excuses, but you're not learning to win.
No.
Like if you were, you would have 15 wins right now. You'd have 16 wins if you were learning to win. You wouldn't have these excessive losing streaks that you have. They are learning to lose. They're playing losing basketball. They are learning to lose. And to a bigger point, he alluded to the fact that two of your players in the backcourt are, and he mentioned them specifically, are getting away with things. He said getting away with it that you wouldn't get away with on other teams. That is, for people to act like, why would John Wall, I heard people come at me and like, he's just got an axe to grind. What would his axe be to grind with two young players who why would he try to blast two young players? What does he have to gain by that?
Well, here, let's listen to the second one, because this is where he might have an axe to grind, and you'll understand why. Listen, I've heard behind the scenes too from the horse's mouth about this situation. So let's play the second one about John Wall not playing his second year here.
So even though they didn't want to, in my second year, they didn't want to play me at all. They're like, because they told me, like, at the end of the year, my first year, they're like, yo, we want to bring you back. We love the way you leading the team. You've been in leadership for the young guys. I'm like, I said, I don't give a about doing nothing. I said, if God put me in this place to help the young guys, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I'm not here. He didn't put me here for y'all motherfuckers to try to tank and me be a player that can still play and just be wasting my talent. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
They're like, you going to start for us next year, whatever. And I would have been fine coming off the bench for them. You know what I mean? But I'm like, don't just give them a spot. Let them earn it.
Yeah.
So I go back to check on my condo a month before the season. They called. They're like, yo, come in the office. He's like, yo, this is coach talking. He's like, yo, how would you feel come off the bench? I said, for who? No offense, but who? I'm your best player last year. Like, this is what the GM want. This is what we want. I mean, we want you to play 10, 15 minutes a game. Sometimes don't play. I said, I'm not doing that. Either you're going to guarantee me some minutes,
right,
or I'm not. But I'm like, let them earn the spot.
Not facts.
And the coach, he was like, man, you don't deserve that. Like, you should be a starter. Like, you don't. Be like, this is what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. I said, I'll rehab. I'll work out every day. I'll stick around the team, come to meetings, fly with y'all, mentor the guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm doing. Then it got to the point they're like, don't come around. Like, they want me around. Like, I had to work out at 7 a.m. like I was a rookie.
They want you to come around at all?
Like, I had to work out before they got there. So, like, when they would come in to practice, I'd be at home by 10. Well, I'd be back home by 10:30, chilling all day.
Damn.
So
That's
I'm like,
nuts.
So I'm like, and my kids live in Miami. I'm like, man, I can't be here. But now I'm like, I'm bored as shit.
Yeah.
From 10:30 all day, I'm just chilling to the game.
Right.
The game at 7, I get there at 6:59. I ain't playing.
Well, first of all, that I was okay coming off the bench. He wasn't okay coming off the bench. Period.
That's not true.
He was right though, and you know what? I don't think
he was right though about what?
He was right though that they wanted to play the young guys.
Oh no, yeah.
And he's absolutely. You know what? And Rafael Stone was right. What are you going to play for? Who? For what? John Wall. What is John Wall going to do? You know what? Jalen Green needed minutes. KPJ needed minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with. Now it does. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. It tells you that basically Stephen Silas, if you take everything at face level, and I don't really have any reason not to, and I've heard this before that Stone is making some decisions about who is playing, and he wants to see what he has. Like, I think that you can't handcuff your coach, and at some point your coach needs to be making decisions about once again, accountability stuff. If somebody needs to sit, they need to sit, and even if it's for a 3-game period, 2-game period, whatever. But John Wall was. I was 0% excited about John Wall coming to Houston. Who cares?
Yeah.
That guy has nothing to do with the rebuild. He's just a name that hasn't played basketball for a couple years. Yeah, when he played, he was okay when he played, but he was never going to play back-to-backs. Like, he was never going to have an impact on the season. He was not a guy, his best impact could be in the locker room, potentially trying to teach young guys how to be pros or whatever. But I didn't really have a problem with him not playing. But it does shine a light on the fact that, potentially some of this stuff is not going to be Stephen Silas's decision.
No.
It's something to consider. It doesn't mean Stephen Silas is doing his job at an effective level because he's not. I mean, once again, both things can be true. Stephen Silas still has the ability to get more out of a team, but he's not.
But that's okay. Rafael Stone is still the general manager, and Rafael Stone, if you know what, There was an issue with AJ Hinch and Luno about some players and who was playing and who was not playing. And Dusty, we've heard that there was some issues as well with Dusty's lineups. And Caserio caught heat for that win against the Colts. He's like, why in the world would you let Brandon Cooks play in that game? That's on you, Caserio, not on the head coach, because the head coach is trying to win. It's Caserio's job not to win that football game. Okay,
sounds funny.
No, it's Caserio's job, and certainly not Lovey's, but Caserio's to tell him, hey, we ain't playing these guys. And as a matter of fact, why don't you play Driscoll the whole game? There's no reason to play Davis because we might need him next year. Whatever the case may be. If Rafael Stone, as the general manager, feels like, you know what, we're not going to play John Wall. We got to play the young guys. I'm fine with that. If it's a tanking thing, and you know what, I'm starting to believe that this is a tanking thing now, because there is absolutely no reason that Steven Silas should be sitting on that bench night in and night out with the results that we're getting from this
just results-based business. There's I mean, it's almost impossible.
And well, John, you're naive. I'm telling you. I was with the owner. He was pissed when they lost the game, and I was with him after the game. He couldn't have been more pissed about losing that basketball game to a team that was this team had started to play well, and then all of a sudden it falters and loses to a team that they shouldn't have lost to, and he was pissed. Yet nothing is happening. Nothing is happening with this basketball team. It's this same old day in and day out. And, okay, well, I guess we're going – this is the Victor Wembanyama train we're on. Okay, I guess that's what it's all about. Get Victor and be damned of teaching these young guys how to play basketball. John Wall said it. They are not accountable. This organization is not being accountable. And quite frankly, if you want to win in the future and this is what you're doing with these young guys, you're not helping them. Mm-hmm. This is not the way that they should be learning how to play – to be professionals in the NBA. No, they're not learning that.
There's got to be tough steps. Like wherever you've seen good rebuilds, like there has to be, and this is different than baseball, for example, because it's just a different dynamic. It's very, very young guys who are in positions of power. Because let's face it, basketball players have more power than any other sport. And so there has to be where has discipline been instilled in performance or discipline. People get upset about the word discipline for something. There's nothing wrong with it. It's professional discipline. As my old basketball coach Hayes used to say, discipline is doing what has to be done when it has to be done and doing it the right way all the time is discipline. And that's in discipline in the military, for example, is little things like, it's making your bed. It's doing things a certain way. Discipline can be, okay, I'm going to wake up at a certain time and I'm going to get a workout in. That's discipline. Yep. Discipline can be, for me, and I wasn't the most disciplined when I was younger because I just, as an ADD person, I had a tendency to procrastinate certain things. Discipline, and I had to try to make myself more disciplined. I have to be disciplined with this football job I do because I have to be more disciplined. I have to. In everything requires a level of discipline and, in their case, professionalism. And there's nothing wrong with trying to get there and stumbling along the way. I will just say this. I think Lovie Smith probably, I would say with 100% certainty, I'd put my life on this, that Lovie tried to instill discipline on that team and that's how you create culture. People talk about creating a culture. That's a real thing. Mm-hmm. And to create culture, it means it can be a love for one another. It could be a team bonding experiences is creating a culture. It can be the discipline of doing what you have to do when you have to do it and doing it the right way all the time. On the basketball court in the fourth quarter, I know your tendency is going to be to shoot, to isolate and shoot, but we're going to have the discipline to stay inside the offense. And if you don't, you're going to sit down.
5 passes.
Yeah, I mean, Norman Dale was trying to instill discipline
and look what happened
with Hickory.
Championship.
Yeah, championship.
That's
so,
right.
You don't have to fight. There's this crazy inclination now because of all the individualism that's out there to fight any structure and any discipline and any level of hierarchy. It's okay. Mm-hmm. It's not a bad thing. People get better when wise people or people who are in charge of the learning process are able to instill this and make changes for people who are not as learned and who are young and who make – everyone tells me, young people, they make mistakes. What about when you were young? Exactly. That's why I needed correction.
That's right.
And that's why I needed people, to move forward and learn the right way to do things.
That's right.
You can't have it both ways. And they're both true. Yes, young people make mistakes. They need correction. That's Steven Silas's job. And if you don't,
and he's not doing his job.
And if he doesn't do his job, he needs to be replaced. And if you don't let him do his job, there's an issue too.
You guys were talking about Tillman, or you were talking about Tillman, and you don't build a successful business enterprise like he has without demanding excellence from the organization, right, and everyone in it. And I know some people. I went to school with some folks that worked in the Landry's organization at a really high level. And, he's a no-nonsense business guy, demands perfection from his people. And it puzzles me that on, one of the most, recognizable franchises that he owns, that he would allow this kind of stuff to happen. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on. It's puzzling to me because, the pieces are there, right? But to allow and to hear what we hear now from John Wall to say that's what's going on, it's crazy to me that a guy like Tillman would tolerate that kind of stuff.
Listen,
anyway,
you hit that nail on the head. It is Tillman. You want to talk about accountability? Everybody in the Landry's organization is accountable, and you're right. This is his most high-profile property, and it is so unbelievably unaccountable. And it's baffling to me. I'm telling you. I went to the San Antonio game after they had beaten Phoenix, they had beaten Philadelphia, they had beaten Milwaukee, they had beaten who else did they beat Phoenix twice. And boy, I tell you, he was pissed about how they played against San Antonio, who was a much lesser team. And yet they got run out of the joint. And yet here we are with this basketball team, as bad as it is, as they're continuing to do this, make the same mistakes night in, night out, continuing to fall apart in the fourth quarter, continuing to turn the ball over. The substitution patterns are I have no idea. It's inexplicable the way he goes about it. The people that he plays. Dayshawn Nix for 36 minutes with the worst point guard production ever of a starting point guard, and yet 36 minutes he's on the floor. It's like,
there's no explaining.
There is,
there's no explaining it.
No, it's explaining it. There is, maybe it is. Maybe it's just tanking. Maybe it's just they're tanking. That's all. And and that's the only thing that I can think of.
All right, let's just think of this with a clear head. You have a generational. This is truly a guy, if he avoids injury, could be a generational talent. And I don't use that. That phrase is so, just like elite used to be overused, generational. LeBron James is a generational talent.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was a generational talent. There's very few generational talents. That means the talent of an entire generation. This kid has a chance to be a generational talent. If you've ever seen Victor Wembanyama, he's Ralph Sampson. He's a taller Kevin Garnett with better handles, better outside shot, who is filthy inside and finishes. He's like if Tracy McGrady was a better shooter and was 7 inches taller. Like I can't. That's how good he is. The number 2 guy, Scoot Henderson, is a really mega talent. This is like better versions potentially of Yao and Jay Williams in 2022. Of 2002, where everyone was excited about the 1 versus 2, who's it going to be or whatever. But this guy's going to be way better than Yao. And I think Scoot Henderson is going to, well, obviously Jay Williams' career was cut short because of the motorcycle incident. I think the Rockets may be just looking at this and saying, look, number one, I don't think they have to work that hard to lose. But number 2, and I don't think directives have been given to lose. I really don't.
No.
But I think that the Rockets right now at this point are saying, you know what? If we keep losing, oh well. And maybe we just keep Steven Silas in place because everything that's happening, we're not going to fix it at the half point. And once again, I'm devil's advocate a little bit here, but what if the Rockets are saying this, John? And tell me if this isn't right. What if the Rockets are saying, we could make any change we want right now, and it's not going to change the culture of the building in the middle of the season. We're not going to do that with an interim coach. we have a chance right now. If we lose, we're going to be in the lottery. The worse we are, the better lottery chances we have, up to a point. And we've got a chance to get one of two really phenomenal players, and one of them could be a generation, could be the next LeBron. I mean, let's just keep doing. Let's just not do anything.
You can continue to lose, but these young players can learn something, and it's something they're not learning right now.
Yeah, no, it could be doing other damage, but I'll also tell you that at any point you can ship guys out. Like, always remember that too. You can always remake a roster. You can always ship guys out. To me, Jabari Smith,
he's not the number 2 overall pick like Stromile Swift was. Okay, Stromile Swift was a huge bust. He was the number 2 overall pick. Jalen Green can play. You don't want to have to ship Jalen Green out.
No, you don't want to, but it can happen. If you need to, it can happen. It's not the end of the world because he's also going to have value. So if you don't like Jalen Green, if you for some reason think you can always get away from KPJ's contract because of the way it's structured. It was well structured by Rafael Stone, and you did it at a time where you had more leverage over KPJ. So you can always move him. You can move Jalen Green if you need to. I'm hoping that Jalen Green, Jabari, Şengün, and Şengün, you have to figure out your double. I mean, Şengün can be moved if you needed to for great value.
No.
But I'm just telling you that no matter who's on a roster, that's not forever.
Yep.
You can remake the roster in any way you need to. If somebody is developing a loser attitude, or if somebody is unprofessional and hurting your locker room, get them out.